elevator
Yeah.
speech.
Oh,
We use the Black Belt Mind from Dana and Nap from Dana and I as a way to give you a roadmap to move forward and a way to clear out the things from the past so that you can get unstuck anywhere in your life that you want. So it's all about getting unstuck. So today's unstuckness, following on the heels, actually, Nicole, you had said last time when we referenced hope, and you said, "Oh, that'd be a good idea for a show," and we both went, "Yeah, that's a good idea for a show." So today we're talking about hope, and so far the working title is "Hope." Being hopeful is not being delusional; it's a nervous system strategy. So,
That's a mouthful.
yes.
it's like the Digital Dojo. Say all that 5 times in a row, everybody.
Or the shorter version is hope, but not the fluffy kind.
Yeah, I like that too.
So part of why we were thinking about this is everything's up for everybody right now, and people are just tired. Like people are just tired. And when people are tired and they do not have hope, then things go from feeling fatiguing to feeling overwhelming. And that's when it's more likely to shut us down and shut us off so that we're just not functional at all, period. Because feeling powerless is never a good feeling. It's never true, but when it feels true, it's never a good feeling. So tonight is all about what actually hope is, what you can actually do with it, how you can actually use it, and how to use it in an actual boots on the ground kind of way, rather a blind optimism. It'll be fine. Everything's going to be fine kind of way. Do you have anything to add to that, sir, or shall I do the next piece?
Nothing at all.
Nothing. You have nothing to talk about today?
Zero. I don't want this topic whatsoever. I don't think about it for a second. Oh my goodness. So much to say.
The day you have nothing to say when I start a radio show with here's what we're working on, I will just take the camera over to the window so I can videotape the pigs
there
flying.
you go. Yep. Yeah. Hell freezing over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carl's just laid out so many great things right now to set up this conversation. And, you know, that feeling of so tired that you can't hope is and I'm gonna use the word very deliberately, is very terrifying. So there's a lot of tired, terrified people walking around on this planet right now, which I completely understand and have tremendous empathy for. It's from the bottom up, like looking at this big vast space that we're in called the universe and this planet from our little singular viewpoint, it's a hell of a place, full of chaos, terrifying, scary, chaotic, and really, 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 really daunting, right? So part of, and I'm talking about this from a very practical standpoint, part of what I remind people to do, in the dojo and in my work is to like take a big picture view, right? Remember to take a big picture view. Now, not to do that in a way that fuels denial of what it is that you're facing right in front of you, but to reframe and refresh your perspective on just how much choice you still actually have. And I know that can sound like delusional in and of itself, right? When we feel like we're backed right into a corner, that feeling of being backed into a corner is just that, the feeling of having no choice. But when you reframe, when you can take a look at things from a bigger picture view, when you can remember that there's a larger scale and scope that you can respond to the world from, that sense of choice starts to come back. And that's what, and the way that I work with that energy and the way that Colleen and I work together with that energy is what we're calling hope. And it's important to define hope as different from faith, as different from trust, because those three words I've found in my experience. I'm curious to see what everybody thinks. And Nicole, I'd love your feedback on this too. Like people use those three words interchangeably all the time. Like hope is the same as faith is the same as trust, and they're all kind of glommed into sort of an indistinct sense of meaning generally the same thing, which is tough because in actual practical application, at least in my experience, which is what I'll only ever speak from, hope, faith, and trust are tremendously different energies.
Yeah.
And they kind of work together. right? They're synergistic and they work as a trio to reinforce and strengthen and build each other. But if we're kind of hoping when we should be trusting, if we're having faith when we should be hoping, if we're, trying to act like faith is trust, and that makes us less hope, like it's really, 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 really difficult. So that's part of what we are excited about to crack into today and start to at least offer some alternative possibilities around those things, as opposed to just, oh well, I've lost all hope. Like, how many times do we say that to ourselves, right? Like, oh, I got my hopes up. Okay, that's one of the most common and dangerous statements that we all use. I got my hopes up, because right away that means that our hopes were dashed, our hopes weren't met. We there's nothing to hope for. Where that's connected to, that those ideas of control and the control of the external that we talked about last week, right? That I'm only safe. Things are only going to go my way if I can control everything around me. Well, try that for about 10 seconds on mud ball, and it crashes pretty quick. So
10 Seconds on the Mud Ball
we
is a great album name.
oh, cool. Yeah, that'll go on the list. We have a list of record album names that we compile
That's
have
really
been
good.
compiling for years. So 10 seconds on the mud ball, yeah, because
That
it
is a
can be
great
pretty.
album name.
Thanks. I'm glad. Thank you. Yeah, it can be pretty daunting, right? And we got to find some ways to do something other than just cope, which sometimes feels like the only thing we can do in this very, very scary and chaotic place that we live in sometimes.
Mhm.
So that was me having nothing to say about that.
Yeah, well, about what I've come to expect of you, sir. So, um, if you know me at all, you know that I'm going to have some research-based stuff to say about that and some poetry, because they're all the same thing in my head. So the research-based is that they have shown that people with higher agency-based hope, an agency is just basically people feel like they can act, they are able to act, they will be able to act, they will act. So people with higher agency-based hope tend to do difficult tasks for longer because it helps them develop a clear pathway. But blind optimism does not help them do difficult things longer. So this idea of everything will be fine, why? Because does not help, but everything will be fine because I'm going to choose to make it fine is, I think, a really powerful thing for any of us to do in our lives. And I think that's going to tie in with hope and faith.
Mhm.
But then the other thing that I want to drop here so that we can add it into the mix is people sometimes have this idea that hope is A, it's a luxury, and B, that it's a little, it is fluffy. That it's like, that's nice that you're so naive that you think that hope, you know what it is? People think that hope is it's a wish and not an action.
Nice.
And today, I think part of what we're talking about is the action of hope.
Mhm.
So now can I do the poetry?
Please
Um,
do.
I won't read the whole poem, but Emily Dickinson, hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And then at the end of the poem, I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. So it's this idea of the thing that will keep us going and really doesn't cost us. And maybe that's why as humans we have this weird tendency to think, oh, well, it doesn't cost me anything, so therefore it must be crap. And we do have a tendency to devalue the things that don't cost us. But also, I think when we take hope away from being an action, we start to think of it as something that we can just hopefully get sometime.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Comes from outside of us somewhere, that if the hope gods roll the dice in our direction, that we maybe occasionally win that lottery.
Yeah. As opposed to, no, this is a thing that I can choose to bring up at any point in time. I can choose hope right now. And I can use that hope to find a way forward no matter what. So that is my current thought
I love
on
it.
agency and hope and Emily Dickinson.
All awesome. Go Emily. Um, So as with everything that we put forward, we're we think about this stuff a lot. We work with it a lot. We're codifying these ideas because we want to have something to bring to a discussion. We want to open up a discussion. We're not saying that, this is the definitive last word and this is the only way to define these things and this is the only way that you can work with them because we say so. Not at all. In fact, I'm going to offer some definitions, some hopefully some clarity, because that codification will allow us to have a conversation about it. We'll know that we can agree that, okay, if we call this right now, we can have a chat, we can have a talk, we can think about it. If people take these ideas and use them as a catalyst to come up with their own language and vocabulary to help them with these concepts, we are more than all for it. Don't really care about what we call things, as long as the things that you choose to call them are things that make sense to you, resonate with you, and then work when you need them under pressure when you apply them.
Mhm.
So here's just some things to create some new possibilities of thought that will occur just maybe because you haven't heard it described like this before. Right? So, uh, and this is again from like thousands and thousands of hours of practically applying these concepts and working with them with people to see if they actually create any momentum for them in a positive direction. So hope, faith, and trust, those three energies that work together, want to kind of give them assign them some characteristics and define them a little bit. Right? So and this they could all sort of rotate through these definitions, but we got to start somewhere. So generally speaking, okay, and the way that most people think about hope, faith, and trust, hope is about the future. Okay. Faith is about the past, and trust is about the present. Okay? And hopefully, even just those ideas might be like, what? What are you talking about? But let's get some definitions to those things. So, hope is the energy that we can rely upon to remember that we can feel a little bit better in the moment than we did in the moment before it. Right. So, in other words, it's the energy that helps us go, oh, okay, well, that's disappointing. That's saddening. That is upsetting. But I can still feel a little bit better than I do right now. A little bit, not a lot. Doesn't mean we fix everything. We can just go, oh man, right, I had a flat tire. That's really, really disappointing. I'm trying to get somewhere important. Oh, but I actually have a spare tire in my trunk. Just that thought, just remembering to think that, remembering to get present with what's actually occurring. Yes, part of what's occurring is the flat tire, but part of what's also occurring is, hey, I've got a spare in my trunk. Okay, that's hopefully a example of how I can feel a little bit better in this situation than I did in the moment right before it. Okay? Faith is, and kind of neat how I'm going to use the word hope to define the word faith, right? So if hope is the feeling that I can, the knowing that I can feel a little bit better in the next moment than I did in the moment that I'm in, then faith is the hope in things not yet seen or experienced. Right. So let's break that down for a second. Hope is the faith is the hope in things not yet seen or directly experienced. That means that maybe when I can give myself a bit of hope to feel a little bit better than I do right in this moment now, I can feel a little bit better in the next moment than I do in the previous one, did in the previous one. And we apply that to the idea of things not yet directly seen or experienced. It's like, oh, okay, well, got the flat tire. Yeah, that's terrible, terrible. I hate that. Sucks. I'm losing hope. Oh, but I got a spare tire in my trunk. Oh, okay, well, I've also got a manual for my car that will teach me how to put that spare tire on. Okay. That's something that we can then have faith in, right? It's the idea that we can have a hopeful attitude, right? To feel a little bit better than we do right now towards something that we haven't yet directly seen or experienced, right? Maybe we've never changed a tire on our car before. Maybe we don't know if we can do it. But the possibility that we have the agency and the path to doing it, i.e., I have a flat tire, but I've got a spare tire and I've got a manual that will tell me how to put that spare tire on my car. That's where hope lives, right? We haven't done it yet, but the idea gives us some sense that maybe we could handle this situation, right? Trust is a different kind of energy. And trust we define as the confidence gained from the direct experience of something, right? Confidence gained from the direct experience of something, right? So let's put that back to our spare tire analogy. If we actually attempt to change that tire, and we go in and we find it, it's in the trunk, and we're like, oh wow, it actually is here. I've got it. Wow, great. I've got the jack, I've got the tire iron, I've got everything I need to do that. Okay. We've just given ourselves the reward of something we can trust because we had a little bit of hope that gave us the power to lean into a little bit of faith to then have that faith rewarded, right? In other words, man, that spare tire, the tire's flat. Terrible. Oh, I hate that. Okay, well, what can I do? Is there something I can do? I got a spare tire in the trunk. That's the thought. That's the thing that helps us feel just a little bit better. That energy gives us the opportunity to go, okay, well, yeah, okay, well, I'm gonna go look in the trunk and see if that tire's there, if I've got the things I need, if I've got the manual. Well, we step forward and we do those things, and then we trust the situation a little bit more. We trust that there's a possibility that we might be able to handle the situation. Heck, we get as far as actually taking that tire out, taking the flat tire off, putting that tire on. We've got a whole bunch of new things to trust. Most importantly, what we're going to trust is that we deserve to have options and choice, right? So that trust not only builds trust in your own faith and in your own hope, but you do that by building that trust in yourself. Because I'll tell you, you'll feel like a different person once you've gone through that process, right? Flat tire, spare tire. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. Then you do it. You're going to drive away from that situation feeling like a brand new person, right? Well, I found a way to to execute and exercise your choice and that makes you glad that you followed your own ability to choose, to not just give into the situation, but to find a way through.
That's a very assertive nod.
There we go.
So I think I have a question or question. Sorry, Nicole.
I'm sorry, you cut in a little bit there halfway through.
Did I hear? Did I? Oh, weird. I just heard you say. Heard you do a and I was curious if that was a that doesn't make sense or that's
Oh no,
interesting.
I was just humming because we can't hear the nod on radio. So I was glad that
And here I was thinking you could see me, Con.
I was. That's why I was captioning it basically.
which I appreciated.
It's
Yes,
just a reflex,
exactly.
and Colleen was acknowledging it. But you know that I was that excited about it.
So
As far as questions or comments, I mean, bottom line is hope is part of the integral steps on raising your vibration on the scale of energy, right? And I like how you defined it so
Absolutely.
perfectly. That was very well done. The fact of the
Oh,
matter,
thank
with all the poop hitting all the fans globally 24/7, how do we
no
access it? How do we find
kidding.
it? How do we have it? And use it to get to the next
yeah,
level.
yeah. Well, and that's where I think we're going next.
I figured.
So,
Yes, I figured.
but no, like
Yeah,
thank
no,
you.
that was awesome. You re-encapsulated all that beautifully there. So thanks for letting us know that we're on the right track.
This quickly before we go to that.
Mhm.
So biologically, when we allow ourselves to have hope, it is a signal for the nervous system that says it is safe to invest energy in the future. And Chinese medicine, I remember when they taught us about liver qi stagnation causing depression, and I said, because again, a lot of the, I mean, still a lot of the books that teach Chinese medicine are shockingly not in English. Um, and so I said, "Oh, do you mean depression like, oh, or depression like, oh, I'm so sad, or depression like," and I put my hand on my chest and pushed in, and the answer I got from the teacher was yes. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna ask that again later. But the idea of liver tree stagnation is we have enough energy to do things because the liver handles passion, as well as stress and frustration and anger. So we have a ton of energy, but it's all wound up and stuck, and so we don't use it to move us forward. So literally, people become depressed emotionally and clinically when it feels like it's too much energy to move forward. So one of the one of the ways, and this is not obviously the way we're going to lean on, one of the ways to move forward when one feels hopeless is to move forward. Because any step that you take, you're going to start to move and loosen that liver chi, and the next step gets easier, and the next step gets easier. So you're going to say something far more wise, but that is my very oversimplified version.
I like simple and
Oh,
super effective.
and also I was reading a really interesting article on this person was saying that they think that part of the issue out there right now is that so many people have walked away from religion and spirituality. So, and people who are spiritual, they don't have a framework for it.
Mm.
And the article was saying, like, obviously there have been problems in religions and groups because they're made up of humans, and humans make very bad mistakes sometimes. So they weren't saying everybody should go out and find a religion, but they were saying when people don't have that, they don't do as well. And I think because it gives us a place, it gave people a place to exercise hope and faith and trust. And so when they had those muscles exercised, they could use them in other places in their life more easily.
For sure.
Whereas now people are going, well, I don't have any faith and trust in those religions the same way. So I'm not practicing hope and faith and trust. So now I don't know how to use it anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, yeah. Might have to do a whole show on that too, because there's a ton of great stuff in what you just said also. The, you know, yeah, very exciting. The hope, faith, and trust work together as a complete unit, right? And those are three very importance of the same kind of machine, in the sense that when you diminish one, you incapacitate the other two, right? So hope without faith and trust is weaker. And when you're talking about that example you just gave, Cole, that made me realize, maybe a way to describe it is that if people don't have a place to experience and exercise faith and trust, then hope starts to feel more and more useless.
Mm.
But that also works with, any singular one that's diminished affects the other two, right? So hope is weaker without faith and trust. Trust is weaker without hope and faith. Faith is weaker without trust and hope. Okay, so part of the reason why
I knew you were going to do all three.
we had to complete the cycle, man. Part of the reason why I'm being that specific is because the three of them working in tandem and working simultaneously actually strengthen, build, and reinforce each other. So when we have a little bit of hope, that gives us the strength to open up to have some faith. When we have a little bit of faith, and that faith gets rewarded with trust, and we can certainly talk about when it feels like it doesn't as well. But when that faith gets rewarded with trust, then it's easier to hope again, right? So if I hope a little bit and get that rewarded with the feeling of faith, and I get that faith rewarded with the feeling of trust, well, then the next time I have something to handle, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to stay hopeful. Right? And they build a momentum of their own that starts to become more and more powerfully self-sustaining. And maybe the way that I'll describe why that works is putting it in the framework of, quote unquote, religion versus spirituality, because the common denominator that empowers any religious feeling or spiritual experience is truth. Okay? And the challenge is that what's unfortunately unfolded more and more these days in our world through organized religion is that organized religion understands this dynamic of, hope, faith, and trust, and the idea of truth, but it's gotten skewed, unfortunately, in our modern world, particularly, and maybe has been all along on some level. That the truth that religion espouses for you to have hope, faith, and trust in is a truth that's given to you. It's a truth that someone else tells you is valuable because they say it's true, right? That's where the energy and both religion and spirituality have their up and down sides, at least in my experience of them. Um, but spirituality has become kind of the counterpoint to what unfortunately organized religion seems to be turning into more and more, because spirituality also recognizes that hope, faith, and trust are important and that they are directly connected to truth. But what's powerful about the spiritual um, uh, approach to these ideas is that it's talking about truth as something you experience for yourself, that you find on your own, that you directly encounter. And you realize that something is true, not because someone tells you that it's true, but because it's true to you. Right? And if we look at that dynamic and it feels useful on any level, then it kind of reinvigorates the need for a personal sense of hope, for a personal sense of faith, and a personal sense of trust. Because what you're building there is your ability to discern truthful truth for yourself, right? And that lands in that statement I made just a second ago, which is that, well, I didn't actually say this explicitly, but I will now. The more I treat truth as something that is mine to discover, and that if something's not true to me, it's not true, the more empowered I feel, the more choices I feel like I have. I can access hope, the more easily I can experience faith, the more easily I can act with trust. So I find that that's kind of an overriding theme in so much of the work that we do together, because we're never trying to tell anybody what their truth is. To me, that feels impossible. I think it feels impossible. What we're trying to do is to set up uh, circumstances and experiences and dare I say what I want to call containers, safe spaces where people can explore what's true to them or not. And the more that we treat people like they're capable of finding their own truth, the more of their own truth they find. And then this other cool thing happens is that without having to force it, we start finding and running into people that, yeah, they might use different words and they might express it differently, but people start coming to similar places of things that are true and things that feel true, like kind of the golden rules, the universal truths about love in the world. Like people start landing in those places, yeah, from their own unique perspective, but you start getting a bunch of people who are confident that they can discern the truth for themselves more easily, and they can trust themselves while they do it. Before you know it, getting into agreement with those people gets easier and easier and easier. Okay? All something that you can have hope in, right? If you feel like you're going out into the world and everybody's going to be in opposition to you, and people are just going to criticize what you're trying to offer or criticize what you believe is true that you've honestly thought about and tried to share, well, yeah, you're going to be pretty hopeless, because that's going to feel like that truth means nothing but conflict. But on the flip side of that, if you actually can experience something like, wow, well, my hope was not only not criticized and ridiculed, it was actually embraced and accepted. Well, then having the idea of faith, right? The idea that I can have hope in something that I haven't yet seen or experienced becomes easier. As soon as you feel some like you have some new choice around that, well, then all of a sudden you're trusting yourself on a deeper level. And when you trust yourself on a deeper level, you make better choices, right? As determined by what's better for you, not by better, not as determined by what's better from what people tell you is best for you. That actually also opens you up to receiving information from people who genuinely do want good things for you. Because when you trust yourself to know what isn't true, you also trust yourself to be able to recognize what does feel true to you. And then you can move forward in that direction. You start to realize that people who are actually offering you the embrace of what's true to you and are trying to add to that by sharing their truth with you are not as few and far between as we're taught that they are. Because I think that that's how we stay divided. Right? If I don't trust you, if I don't have faith in you, if I don't have hope in you, and you and your humanity, and you and your ability to find things that are truthful and share them truthfully, well, then of course I'm going to be scared of you, and of course I'm going to make you an enemy, and of course you're going to be my adversary. I'd say that, you know, unfortunately, because a lot of the powers that be are driven by control. They don't want us to be allies, because when we're allies and we have hope, faith, and trust in each other, well, we're pretty tough to control, right? We're much more capable of determining, well, no, I don't buy that. No, that's not true to me. I'm not acting on that. Yeah, do your worst, but that's not true to me. I'm not going to ever act like it is. That's a powerful thing. And that's what we have both dedicated our time and professional energy towards helping people discover for themselves.
Assertive nod.
Sort of none.
Um, can I tangent?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Not,
Here's
didn't I just do that? I was tangenting all over the place.
So my tangent on top of that one is when we're talking about choice and being able to choose so that we can get back into that hope, faith, trust trio. That's so awesome. I actually think this is where integral medicine comes in really well. So they did a study years ago where they wanted to test whether or not people could actually impact anything outside of themselves. So they decided to test it on computers, because one of the things about integral medicine is any form, whether you're talking about Reiki or you're talking about something like YIM, which is what I use, or anything in between, it's intentional medicine. You combine intention and attention to change one state to another state. And so they thought, okay, what can we find that is not going to be influenced? Because one of the things about intentional medicine, which is a thing that people get very hopeful for, that something can change, even if they don't know how to do it otherwise, is people will say, oh, well, you just basically you just gave them a placebo because you made them think they could feel better and then they felt better. Answer number one to that is, so? Like, it really, if that's all it is, and I genuinely don't believe that's all it is, if people get better because they think they can get better, I'm still happy if they're better. So that's good. But they thought, okay, what can you not talk into being different? And the answer was computers. So they took computers and they programmed them so that they were generating zeros and ones. And that was the only job, that was the only program these computers had, randomly, with plus or minus, I think 1%, maybe 2% different. So over the course of any 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they would have roughly 48 to 52% of either zeros or ones. And they ran that for a couple of days, found that's what was happening. Great. Then they had volunteers come in, and their job was to sit in front of a computer and think 00000 or 11111. And lo and behold, suddenly the people who were thinking 000, those computers showed 55% zeros, 60% zeros. They were actually changing what the computer was doing by what their intention was and putting their attention on it. That in itself is pretty mind-boggling, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you extend that to something like integral or intentional medicine, what that means is if something is going on for you, for someone you care about, for something you care about, if you have plants or pets or anything like that, you can intend something and put some attention on it. And there are increasing numbers of studies out there that show that that can change what's going on out there. To me, what that means is now, when people feel hopeless, which again, I think there are certainly some, I don't want to say powers that be, some muscles that be out there, want people to feel hopeless, because then people stop being awkward and having their own minds. If we can go back to that choice, I can choose, I can intend something, and I can look back at the times when I've intended something and things have changed. then it's illogical to feel hopeless. Because if you have ever changed your situation before, then you are capable of changing it again. If you have ever put your focus on having something feel better, even if quote unquote all it did was give you information. I My back was hurting the other day, and I was like, oh, I don't have the time to stop and do a whole session on myself. Oh, or I can just check in and see, yeah, my back's cold. So I'm going to do my work with a heating pad on my back. Hey, look, lo and behold, it feels better. Right? When we put intention on things, it doesn't always mean we have to do all the work to make everything all better. It just opens us up to being able to allow in and accept the things that will move us forward. That's my tangent.
That's a great tangent.
Thanks. I made it
Very well
myself.
related.
Thanks.
Uh, so again, full of thoughts, always wanting to aim this stuff towards the most practical application. And I think maybe the next step that occurs to me in how to do that is to kind of touch base back again on some other things that we've talked about in previous shows, which is the difference between reacting and responding.
And then I have questions from people as well.
Super. Yeah. And maybe the simplest way to say it is that hope is a responsive energy. It's a responsive action, right? That's how we build it. That's how it starts to extend itself into trust and to faith. And that's how that faith sustains itself and becomes something we can trust. And what I mean by that is that to be responsive means that you're retaining your own self-determinism in the face of things that are trying to make you react. What does it mean to react? Well, to react means it is done to you. So if someone scares you, you have to scare them back. If someone angers you, you have to react with anger because that's the only energy that's available to you. So when we're being reactionary, we lower our awareness, i.e., we lower our vibration, and therefore become less and less capable of choice. High vibration means we can see more. It's like standing on the 10th floor of a building as opposed to being in the parkade of the building on the ground. You can't see as much. So if you can't see as much, well, you can't see as many options, right? That's where reactionary energy lives. And it's something that if we are aware that we can all experience, we can all be reactionary, but we also all can have a choice in how we handle that reaction, okay? By recognizing it from a neutral place that's just, hey, this is just information. It's emotional, energetic, and vibrational information that's telling me what's going on around me right now. And I can use that energy to elevate myself, go from the bottom floor to the 10th floor, take a bigger picture look, right? Not just get stuck in the moment, not losing the forest for the trees, but take a bigger picture look and see how much choice we actually have. So what does that mean in a practical sense? If someone scares us, we could react and just do the thing back to them that they did to us, or we could do something else. And it actually doesn't even necessarily matter what that something else is. Even one other option is better than none. So if we could say, well, okay, instead of that person scaring me and me just responding, trying to scare them back, I could step aside and ask them why they scared me. Simple, really practical ways to differentiate the difference between a reaction and a response. If you can do anything other than what was done to you in that particular moment, well, then you're being responsive. The more that you lean into the discipline of being responsive, taking an extra second to pause, not long, doesn't have to be an eternity, but just a second to think or breathe or relax for a second, go, okay, what just happened and what's happening? Okay. And give ourselves a chance to respond. Well, then all of a sudden, hope becomes a present time thing. You actually do the thing that hope is supposed to do. It's supposed to help you feel a little bit better. That doesn't fix everything in the moment, doesn't take care of everything all at once. It's not about controlling everything that's going on around you. It's helping you feel a little bit better than you did when you just got scared. Okay? And if you feel a little bit better than scared, well, then you can think a little bit more clearly. You can then respond, which is going to make you feel like, hey, there is a possibility. I can have some faith in that possibility, right? Some faith and hope in something I haven't yet experienced yet, that there could be a better outcome here than just me being scared and reactive. Do that a couple, 3 times in a row, and before you know it, you're going to trust yourself on a whole deeper level. Okay. And that's where these things start to come together. Because what's the easiest thing to respond to? Well, the easiest thing to respond to is something truthful. Well, if you find something truthful in yourself in a moment, no matter what's going on, no matter what's coming at you, well, then you've got another option. And if you recognize that honoring your own true feeling about something gives you more choice, it doesn't take choice away from you, well, then all of this stuff gets turned on its head a little bit in terms of, I don't just have to do what's done to me. I can choose. I can do something different. And that right there is a profoundly hopeful place to be.
Well, and it comes back to the third option, right? Which we talk
Yeah.
about all the time. And I've been having some really great conversations lately about the third option, which is if option one sucks and option two sucks, and those are your only two choices, there has got to be a third option that you just haven't found or created yet. So it comes back to choice. When we are told, well, you have to choose A or B, and they both suck, and you suffer both ways. When we start to believe that we have no choice and we have no agency and we are hopeless, then we just accept the suckage.
That is a technical term, by the way. The suckage is actually scientifically proven language there that describes exactly what we're talking about.
Also, don't accept the suckage. Good album title.
Yeah, there we go.
Good one.
We're on
Yeah.
fire. On fire today.
But I've been having such great third option conversations this week because there's this thing that you can like. I've come up with a couple of third options this week, and every time when I come up with them, I feel my body go, "Oh, right," because it's not stuck anymore. It's not feeling like there's no choice other than the suckage. So back to the third option. One of the ways you can rebuild hope is when you feel like you only have one choice or you only have two and they both suck, then one of the ways to be hopeful is just assume there is another way through it and you just haven't found it yet. Questions? Do we have time for questions?
I think we do. Let's maybe wrap it.
More does your no, I know we've got
No,
time,
yeah.
but I mean, does your brain have time?
Oh, there's never enough time for my brain. Never enough time for my brain.
Okay, let me rephrase. Is your brain really wanting to finish up any other part of this conversation, or
I think we might be able to do that really effectively with some questions.
okay?
So thanks for checking.
Okay. So again, these were sent in earlier, so they are not present time questions. They were a whole hour and a half ago. How do you stay hopeful without ignoring reality?
That's
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Eddie.
He likes
Eddie-
that one too.
Yeah, no, he agrees.
Eddie endorses this
We
question.
know we're on the right track. We get a thumbs up from Eddie. Yeah. Well, that question is a great one because it has the answers inherent in it, and it's asking.
You're inherent.
I'm trying to be. I really am. Yeah. I should explain that in this simple statement. I hope it makes sense. Acceptance is the key to survival. Right. Denial is the guarantee of death, really, to be really stark about it, right? So the more that we can accept, right, in present time, in real time, okay, the more capable we are of surviving. And the reason is because the more we can accept, the more information we can have, right? So if there's any part of us that's denying any part of our reality that's occurring at any time we're experiencing it, we're cutting ourselves off from the information that's there. And that's no small thing to deal with, right? Like sometimes the great Dr. Martin Luther King said, the truth shall set us free, which is awesome and super true. But people forget, though, sometimes that the truth is also going to do something else first. First, the truth is going to mess you up. It has that potential.
That's
right?
not the word you usually use.
Well, I'm trying to be PG. Okay. But the truth can be very, very hard to accept, and no one's pretending, and certainly not us, that that's not real. Okay, but the value of accepting the truth and the value of it letting the truth scramble you and mess you up initially is because in that shakeup, You're going to see new pathways.
Ooh, Doctor Who.
Yes.
Sorry, I just got excited because anytime I can use Doctor Who to prove a point, life is good.
I have nothing that's better than that to say right now. So go
Because
ahead.
when
If you're not excited, it's going to be awesome.
because for those of you who have not discovered the beauty of Doctor Who has a TARDIS, which is a blue phone box from Britain. And when you go inside the phone box, instead of there being a phone, there is his time and
It's actually a police box.
sorry, it's a police box. I'm so sorry. It's a police.
It's a special kind of phone box.
It's
just called police.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. And inside, that's basically his spaceship, but it's a spaceship that moves in time.
Yeah, because it's for emergencies, right?
Yeah,
it
is.
Right?
Yes.
We're talking about being hopeful through emergency and chaos right now.
And there's this moment whenever he brings a new companion in, where he lets them in through the door of the police box, and then there's this whole, but it's bigger on the inside, and it's become this running joke where they're going, and there's a pool, and there's there's all this stuff. It's so much bigger on the inside, but it weirds everybody out because the truth messes you up, and then it's really awesome. So Doctor Who proves your point.
Awesome. Can't get better validation than the Doctor.
That was all. I just got excited about Doctor
awesome.
Who.
Yeah. So
Which, P.S., the last Doctor was black, and the Doctor before that was a woman, so things could change.
we're moving in the right direction.
Nothing against white guys.
And the Black Doctor was also gay.
No, he was pansexual.
Pansexual. Okay.
Yeah. I believe.
There we go.
I believe.
I was going to say, but he was a human being, but he's not a human being because
No.
he's a Time Lord from Gallifrey. So that's a whole other thing. But yes, there's possibility, right? Things are opening up.
Just got a little flutter about how attractive you are when you talk about Doctor Who, even though
Oh.
you didn't care about it 5 years ago.
No.
That's good.
Okay, that's a whole different conversation because I watched Doctor Who as a kid. Anyway, how about the next question?
Next question.
Unless there's any questions about that question that we just answered or tried to answer.
I think we answered it with Doctor
Okay, awesome.
Who. Can hope come back after trauma or repeated disappointments?
Absolutely.
There you go. In case you were wondering, that's the answer.
Followed by a definitive nod. Yeah. It most definitely can. And oddly enough, sometimes, and not that we want to promote the idea that people have to go through terrible trauma to be hopeful, not at all. But sometimes a traumatic situation or an environment can be the most right opportunities to be hopeful and to practice being hopeful.
I like that.
Right? To recognize that, like anything, and it might sound odd, but I think everybody will get it. Like hope is a skill, right? And skills can be built by choice, and skills can be built with commitment and discipline and intention. And I see it. I've seen it for decades in the dojo, right? People come in with very little hope, faith, or trust that they can learn, to feel confident in their body and defend themselves effectively and feel safe when they walk down the street. And I watch them transform right in front of our eyes to go from, I never thought I could possibly do that thing before, whatever it was, whether it was push themselves in a way physically that they never thought they were capable. Power of that technique is expressed by, hey, I just did that technique and I'm a much smaller person on this much bigger person and it worked. That's where been one of the most practical crucibles where these things that we're sharing tonight have come from, is seeing them in real time, in real ways, watch people build hope in themselves, feel faith in themselves, feel that they can trust themselves on a whole new level. Even the hope, faith, and trust that gets built from like stepping into a place that makes them feel like those things are welcomed, that we want them to be more hopeful. We want them to have more faith in themselves. We want them to be more self-trusting. Like even that alone is powerful for people that are like, oh, you mean I can come in here and I can not know stuff and it's okay? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you mean I can come in here and try to learn stuff and fail? 1,000%. Oh, you mean I can come in here and like learn stuff, fail at it, and then require a lot of attention until I get it right? That's the whole deal. That's what we're offering. Even that alone is just like, I don't even know how the words to describe it. It's so powerful. It's an unbelievable thing to witness, to watch someone build hope, faith, and trust in themselves.
I'm going to
So
answer.
most definitely.
I'm going to answer in a different way, and my answer is nap,
Oh, awesome. There you go.
because nap is all about saying it's all about acknowledge, accept, agree, right? If you acknowledge that something's out there and has certain qualities, and you accept that it's impacting you, and you can discover the ways that it's impacting you and what it is and what it isn't, then you can change your agreement. So it doesn't have to mean what you thought it meant, what you thought it had to mean, what you were afraid it meant, what you felt you were stuck in it meaning. So once you've experienced that anywhere in your life, then you have the room in any circumstance where you're not feeling hopeful to go, yeah, I don't have to keep agreeing with this. I'm allowed to have this mean something else.
Restores choice.
It restores choice.
Yeah, and when you sorry, I'm just excited.
I was just gonna say, and once you've done that once,
Yeah,
you can't unring that bell,
absolutely.
and you can't pretend that you are powerless and choiceless after that.
Yeah, which is part of the reason that the whole black belt mind, offering that we have was created, because we're both really excited about the idea that even people who don't come to the dojo and physically train and get on the mat can benefit from the ideas and the lessons that restoring your ability to choose in one area not only helps you in that particular area and that particular situation, right? When we talk about making a new agreement, we're saying, hey, I get to choose how this thing impacts me. Not it doesn't just get to be imposed upon me. I have choice in that dynamic still. When we watch people experience that in one way, where there's just like, yeah, I mean, simple stuff like the people who come in and think they could never get tying their martial arts belt on their uniform right. And then you just keep showing them, you keep teaching them, you keep giving them space to make mistakes and try for themselves. And all of a sudden they do it. And it's just tying their belt, because it's a very particular thing that you have to do. And then when they do it for the first time on their own, it's like miraculous and so cool.
Or you take somebody like me who isn't martial arty at all and actually spent my childhood staring at the ground while I walked so I didn't step on ants.
Mm.
And I am still, I think, the only person in our dojo who got their black belt and during their black belt test blacked out, um, didn't pass out, but I still don't remember what I did. I trust Dana when he tells me what I did, and then afterwards started to cry and then barfed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
It's a classic.
so if
Set the new standard.
so if I can get a black belt,
Right? But you put somebody like even that experience that college just described, from something that intense and that, you know, full of energy and emotion to, hey, I just tied my belt for the first time by myself. Okay. You get that experience in one area. Okay. And it affects every other area. So again, that's why the black belt mind was created, because, I see people routinely who've come to the dojo, and have stuck it out and have trained and have, not even that they necessarily even got all the way to their black belt, but that they went from their white belt to their orange belt, which is a 2-belt step. That's affecting how they deal with their family. That's affecting how they show up at work. It's not an uncommon thing for people to like get their blue belt, which is a higher belt, one of the first senior belts, and then all of a sudden get a new job or get a promotion at the job that they're in, or start a company that they've always wanted to start and start working for themselves.
yeah. And in our 10 seconds that's left, my other answer to that is when people say, well, yeah, but I don't remember anything that I've done, so I haven't done anything, so I don't have any choice. I can't be hopeful, et cetera, et cetera. My new answer to them is, can you speak a language? And can you, at any point, did you learn how to walk? Because kids are the best at being hopeful, right? When you see there's all those videos out there right now on social media where an adult says something and the kid responds as like they're going, can you, I'm trying to do what you're doing. Do you understand me? Like they hope for a long time before they actually manage to say book or whatever normal humans want when they want something.
Sounds like me when I wake up in the morning.
And when, kids learning to walk, They fall down 8 million times and they still keep hoping. So if you manage to speak a language, you know how to be hopeful. You have accomplished really big things. English is hard. Languages are hard. So you get to be hopeful. Your system has the pattern. Now you just get to apply it somewhere else.
Humaning is hard too.
Humaning is hard. Assertive not, but you can get through it.
And
Can.
jazz hands. The
Yeah.
end.
Jazz
Jazz
hands.
hands. There you go. Most hopeful gesture in the world.
Right. Yeah, holy crap, we're at the top. That was brilliant. You know, it was all about the finding access to the fuel that gets us back in our driver's seat of life. And once again,
Mhm.
beautifully articulated deep dive, muchly appreciating that. We do need some shameless self promotion, though, to wrap it all up.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you. We're going to go with the same one in the audios because there's more audios coming soon. Stress and anxiety audios coming soon. And because when we're talking about hope, um, the audios are just such a gent to give yourself hope again because they help things move out of your nervous system, out of your mind, out of the things that you are doing without you having to do, without you having to muscle through it, without you having to effort. So you literally just press play and go to sleep, and it doesn't get much easier than that. So there's some free ones on there for chronic pain, for cravings, and for unweighting, so nervous system patterns around body image and metabolism. And then there's a fully built out 3 weeks for the unweighting, and then pretty soon we will have a fully built out and 3 nights free, of course, for stress and anxiety.
Awesome. That can all be found at the digitaldojo.net, where we have all of our social media platforms active and available, including the latest one called
Pinterest.
Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. You can find all kinds of information and goodies there that you can access 24/7 at the digitaldojo.net. We've got all kinds of stuff on the digitaldojo.net that is free and right at your fingertips. As soon as you want any information about it, please avail yourself of that. If any of the things we talk about here have been interesting, and also reminding everybody that in the News for the Soul audience that we are offering a 50% discount on any of our paid programs for the balance of 2026. So there's something there for everyone. Long, short, small, big, fast, easy. So enjoy and please come and say hello to us.
And I think my new sign off might be something about hope. Like
Mm.
it's hope is the most powerful currency you have. That's too wordy. I'm gonna work on it. I'm
Mm.
gonna
Well, one of the other things that we say about joy is that joy is an act of defiance,
Oh yeah.
and hope. So is hope. Hope
Ooh.
is an act of defiance too. Hope is an act that says, "Hey, no, you know what? No matter what you throw at me, I'm gonna find a way to make it work in my favor."
It's what
And
you least expect.
yes, exactly, right. So stay defiant, everybody, and be hopeful.